Hi, I'm Mr. Richards, and I'm going to guide you through an example of a science fair experiment. So, the first part of a science fair experiment is to figure out, hey, what do you actually want to test? Now, one of the things that I've been thinking about is that, hey, how come these giant rockets have such small fins on the side? Okay, so that's a testable question, right? How does the fin size affect how far a rocket flies? Maybe these fins are small for a reason. Maybe it makes the rockets fly faster. Now, I've got my testable question done. How does fin size affect how far a rocket flies? Now I need to figure out the variables. Well, the thing I'm going to be testing is the fin size. I'm going to be changing how large the fins are. Small fins, larger fins. The thing I'm going to be measuring is how far the rocket actually flies. Now that I've got my testable question, my variables figured out, now I can look into my hypothesis. The hypothesis is the guess that you're going to make. What do you think is going to happen when you actually run your experiment? Well, my hypothesis is going to be if I change the rocket fin size, then the rocket with the smaller fins is going to fly further because real rockets have smaller fins. Now, when we look at the materials list, it's important to notice that we have both the item and a description listed. That's important because you have to know exactly what you are going to use for your science fair project. So the first part of our procedure is to actually make the fins. So what we do is we draw one fin, cut it out, trace it twice, and cut those out. Now you have a set of 3 fins. You do those steps 2 more times, choosing a different size fin each time, and you're left with 3 sets of fins that are different sizes. Now we're going to figure out the size of the fins, so we put them on graph paper, count the number of squares inside, and add them up. We get the size. Once we get the fin size measured, we can build the rocket. There it is, finished rocket.
Small. It's 9 centimeter and 3 centimeter. It's 9 meters and 3 centimeters. Yeah. It's exactly 8 meters. Large. Cute. 80 centimeters.
Now, you'll notice that we're doing this experiment a couple of times. The reason for that is every science fair experiment needs to have at least 3 trials. For this experiment, that means launching the small rocket 3 times, launching the medium fin rocket 3 times, and launching the large fin rocket 3 times. The reason we do that is if one of the trials, if we launch the small rocket once and it gets messed up, at least then we have 2 other trials to compare it with and say, hey, that data was a little weird, maybe we should redo that one. Alright, let's finish this experiment up in fast motion. Okay, now that we've finished with our experiment, we can put together a data table. Now the data table is just what we put in our notebook, and we're making it a little bit nicer. We're going to do it on the computer, and we're going to make it, we're going to put it on the science fair board. Now notice, we have on the side, we have the fin size, we have trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, and an average. Now the average is important, okay? We have 3 trials, and we do an average of those 3 trials. So this is what your data table is going to look like. Now, once you get the data table done, we're going to make a graph. Now, your math and science teachers are going to help you make this graph. But the important part of the graph is it is like a picture that shows the results of your experiments. Now, pictures are always easier to understand than words. So, here we go. It speaks for itself. Small fins, higher bars, it went further. Large fins, lower bars, it didn't go quite as far. Notice on this graph we have a title, we have labels for the x and y axis, we have numbers for the y-axis, we have categories for the x-axis, and we have a key. All graphs are going to have at least those things and make sure that they are easy to read. The last part of your science fair project is to do your conclusion. Now in your conclusion, you're going to summarize the first part of your experiment. What was your testable question? What were your variables? What was your hypothesis? You can summarize your materials and your procedure. Then you're going to be talking a little bit about your data. Now you don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of it. All you need to say, for this experiment, small fins made the goat rocket fly further. Larger fins and the rocket didn't go quite so far. Then you want to talk about what did you learn. And then you might also want to say something about what's the next step that you could take. Could you do the experiment again? Did you mess up? Did you learn something that you want to try? Maybe now that I found that fin size, I want to make small fins to make a rocket go further. Maybe I want to see how the launch angle affects how far the rocket goes. Maybe I want to see how the mass of the rocket affects how far the rocket goes. Those are things you're going to be discussing in your conclusion. Remember, anybody can do a science fair experiment, but the people who can explain what they did and why they did it, those are the ones that are going to have the really great projects. All right, that is a very brief overview of how to do a great science fair experiment. Hope you enjoyed it.